Hello everybody and welcome back to the Brightworks in the beautiful northern auroras of Ice Cream, where today's match is going to be taking place. Today, spawning is the blue commander. Right up on the front line, a commander that goes by the name of Raigeki. Raigeki coming in at 60 open skill. My goodness. Sometimes we get 40s, sometimes we get 50s. Raigeki holding firmly onto 60 open skill is massive. I mean, tremendous. Maybe one of the highest open skills we've ever had here on the channel. Definitely had to check this match out once I saw how high a level a commander was going to be playing on the blue team here. All the way on the other side of the map, spawning is the red team commander. Going to be, having their work cut out for them. A commander that goes by the name of She. Or maybe it's Che, or Chi. I'm not entirely sure. We'll go with Che. The red commander here going to be playing as a Cortex commander and spawning on the front line of this very, very massive open map today. Ice Cream. Anybody remember back in the day when Ice Cream had a geothermal up here and it was basically customary for the person up on this high ground to go for a nuke crush every single game? I sure do. I remember putting a build order video out about that, and then about, I think it was basically the day of, either the day of or the next day, the map was patched and that geothermal was removed and this northern high ground was changed ever after. So no longer are those days. Still likely, though, that we're going to see some cheeky shenanigans coming out of the backline here as Douchebag, the Tan Commander, is marching forward, and Ragovic has plenty of time, plenty of space to go ahead and go for a little bit of tech here. Nowadays, we usually see air starts up on this high ground, and indeed, Engolianth, the Orange Commander, as well as Zombie PL, the Cyan Commander, both going to be spawning as air commanders, both going to be going into good old-fashioned T1 aeroplanes. We do have Cortex going up against ARM as well, so it's going to be cool to see. Will the Armada gunships be able to find any value? Will those Cortex bombers that are very powerful, or those Cortex shurikens that are very powerful, or those Cortex fighters that are very powerful? Sad Armada sigh. Will they find any value? Man, I feel like Banshees need to be relooked at. Yeah, certainly seems like Banshees are a little bit outclassed nowadays. Their effectiveness is certainly diminished, especially considering how potent the Whirlwind bombers are. A little bit of an air scout coming across from the Orange Commander, who's going into the back line here of the blue team with this Orange Finch, taking a look around, doing a little barrel roll there as well. Actually, I learned recently that that's not called a barrel roll. I believe it's called a, oh gosh, actually I don't remember what it's called, but it's not a barrel roll. A barrel roll is something different. There's usually one or two technical folks that could probably highlight it for us in the chat. Explain exactly what I'm talking about. I just remember learning about that fact, and ever since then, every time I see someone do a barrel, I am just forced to remember that is not a barrel roll. Grunts moving forward over here for Stanky B, trying to put that thing out on the field. We have blue Grunts headed across the map right here, headed directly towards Glitchin the AI, the Maroon Commander. Definitely a valid strat, right? If you're going to be pushing the AI, you may as well glitch them out as much as possible. That Grunt from the blue Commander, by the way, that went up north, did manage to snipe a Metal Extractor, wounded the solar panel as well, but did not manage to get the kill on it. So, sniping the mechs, obviously well worth it. Would have been a lot better if we could have sniped this solar panel, but the defense here was stellar from Stanky B, so it will go, uncharged. More aggression on the map already as the yellow commander Akawadonis starts to move forward with a couple of these grunts. We also have aggression coming out from the powder blue commanders Rajakon, or Ray Jackson, and the cyan green commander Shrek 3 on DVD. A couple of names I recognize here, but a lot I don't as well. That's always cool to see. I know there's a lot of new players joining us recently. Makes me wonder if I need to redo all those tutorial videos I did way back in the day. I'm starting to think it might be time. This game certainly has changed quite a lot from back when those games were played a year or so ago, something like that. Yeah, some of the fundamentals still definitely important, but a lot of things, especially control schemes, for instance. Yeah, definitely some updates. Now, this is an interesting strategy from the Tank Commander Douchebag, who's just stepped forward and just built about 1.5 million solar panels here. You can see overflowing a lot of the energy to the team, just choosing to go ahead and boost the early game team economy. Yeah, I kind of like it a lot. You're going to be flowing a lot of that metal into these early game T1 Fabratories that are going to be pumping out a bunch of these very energy dense units, right? Grunts costing 880 energy apiece is actually quite a lot for an early game economy, and you consider you start with 25 energy production, and usually you pivot to T2 around 500. Means, yeah, having a little helpful overflow of energy here and there is definitely going to be quite nice for some of these early game commanders. The blue team, however, maintaining a, well, geez, right as I say that, the red team pulling ahead in the economy game. For the longest time there, the blue team had held an economic benefit, but the red team appears to have caught up. Yeah, okay, never mind. a complete upset here, making a fool of me, as now 180 metal is going directly back towards the red team. It looks like most of that, yeah, is reclaimed somewhere along the battlefield here. One of the things I don't like about this is it's very hard to tell what's reclaimed and what isn't reclaimed. But for the most part, a slight advantage for the blue team, if really one at all. With all the battles going on and with efficient trades like this all over the place, yeah. Rocketeers falling, Grunts getting a decent surround here. Even with slight economic advantages, you can throw it all away if you take one or two bad trades, and here we are. Talking about bad trades, the purple and green commander caught off guard right here by a little bit of a grunt run by a huge play from the yellow commander, manages to snipe a metal extractor, which is nice, of course, but the real killer is catching all of these Rocketeers before they made it out to the front line, slowing down those reinforcements and shutting off that snowball before it has potential to grow out of control. Looks like a little move, doesn't really feel like a game winner right there, but little plays like that can definitely add up really quickly in a match of beyond all reason, and adding up like that eventually means you're going to have more Rocketeers on the front line, more aggravators, more forces to push forward with, and that's exactly what you need in order to win that front line. Similarly over here, Grunts continuing to swarm around right now. They're going to pop down into LLT, which is always nice. A little bit inefficient, though, because, of course, those LLTs are basically precision designed in order to shut down Grunts and Goblins, but here you go. There they are, marching forward once more. Aggravator manages to snipe one of them, but here's a couple more blasting down some of these other units. Finally cleaned up over here, but excellent aggression all around from the red team. Losing those units, not really the end of the world, because, of course, those Grunts are easy to trade out and they're easy to reproduce. The Aggravator is much more important to keep alive on the front lines here. Important to keep those long-range siege units, the Aggravators, the Shell Shockers, any of those long-range those long-range artillery pieces or rocket pieces, anything like that. Important to keep those up and running and as well protected by your assault forces as possible. Fighter planes diving around over here. There's those Valiants, quite a bit better than the Falcons, firing away right there. An excellent defensive fighter. Eventually overwhelmed, and they do manage to shoot down the bomber. The Falcons, that is, managed to shoot down the bomber here as well, but not before at least a metal extractor gets taken down. Probably we're hoping for quite a bit more right there, but you really have to take as much as you can get. With the dedicated air player, it's going to be hard to sneak a bombing run through. You basically have to brute force it through by producing enough fighters to protect your bombers and then taking a decent engagement while their fighters latch onto your bombers and shooting the enemy fighters down. Just about the only way to do it in a 1v1 match. Otherwise, you're relying on your teammates to build anti-air, and let's face it, no teammate has ever built anti-air until after they've been bombed. Shrek 3 on DVD here, the Cyan Green Commander, in a little bit of trouble. 94% HP on the Commander means it's relatively healthy, but with the heavy laser tower blasted down right here by the pawns that were pulled from the Maroon Commander as well as the Red Commander, firing away with those aggravators, it eventually falls here on the front line. You can see what Shrek 3 is going for, though, trying to set up some of those area denial turrets to try and blast back a lot of these ground forces that are all bots, taking the advantage of not having to go up against vehicles and running away with it by trying to pivot into some of that static defense for offense. Not the worst idea, but oftentimes more efficient the later it spirals out of control, just the same way a normal army would. Once you have 2 or 3 heavy laser towers up to protect themselves, things can get quite a bit easier. Yeah, it's much, much easier to defend against all that. Versus when you're just starting out, that first or second heavy laser tower can be a little bit tricky to get up and running. Sometimes putting a lightning turret down before that, or a lightning or a flamethrower turret down before that, can help you jump into those heavy laser tower productions, but the really key thing is that you're not producing units in the backline, and it looks like the Green Commander sure is. We do have a fabulous economy of wind turbines built up back here for Shrek 3 on DVD, going into a bunch of wind turbine production. The Blue Commander going into basically pure solar panels. We do have T2 up and running, by the way, for the blue team, and we should have it for the red team as well. Yeah, there we go, T2 well up and running for the red team as well. Looks like the Hot Pink Commander Rogovic is going to be teching up his comrades, while the Blue Commander hands out a little bit of T2 here on the northern high ground. We should have T2 across the board here in a couple different spots. I'm looking around, just trying to see where this T2 is coming from. Is it really just the Blue Commander? It very well might be. I suppose winning this lane here and feeling comfortable enough to push on it. Fiends now blasting forward with their flamethrowers, blasting apart any of this T1 that they can. More than happy to tear down those LLTs as well. They do tons of burst damage. They can take down buildings, they can take down tanks, they can take down just about anything that they want to. And just a couple of volleys from their high power Milta plasma flamethrower cannons. Throw another sci-fi word in there, will ya? Medium tanks blasted away by the Rocketeers here. Have to be careful. You don't want to lose those too recklessly to those Rocketeers, but obviously it's a little bit of a APM contest, right? Who can micro their units back and forth ever so slightly faster. Every rocket that connects is worth it, though. You can see blasting down about 8% off of a medium tank. Not bad. relative to everything else, it's definitely quite quick. And the advantage here for the blue team is slight, but definitely present. You can see with the tank commander fighting on this hill over on the right-hand side, on the southern side, it's starting to offset that advantage. But you can see the line of war is basically drawn right down the middle here in a little bit of a slanted perspective. This makes sense because there's this high ground here that both of these commanders can take advantage of. The green commander on the southern side doing the same thing, taking advantage of this hillside. Harder to see from this angle, but if I kind of get down low, you can see just how that hill comes up and over and then slants down onto the low ground there. It means that you have the high ground there, Anakin, and that's going to be way easier to defend. Definitely going to be an advantage for the green commander, Oibado Hanan. Hope we got that right. High likelihood that I sure didn't. T2 Khan now moving around the map. Yep, T2 metal extractors coming up and running. Each one of these cranking out a whopping 9.2 metal per second. Essentially the equivalent of a single starting economy. There's just a whole early game economy from a single metal extractor. And the more of these that do come up and online, the more and more the blue commander is going to feel like they're in a fabulous position here. Indeed, if we select all these T2 mexes right now, we should be able to see, yeah, 55 metal a second is quite nice. Going to be more than sufficient to start pumping out some of those T2 units. And indeed, Sheldon are already well on their way towards the front line. That means this T1 tech is well antiquated here, as all of those shell shockers are forfeit, going to be blasted down by the Sheldon over time. Medium tanks might find some value here just as frontline brawlers, but still going to be running out of time here just as well. Tremendous swell of pawns now sprinting forward towards the blue commander. Oh, we're lined up for a killer D-gun. Wipes away 10 or so of those pawns right there. Another 10 or so go down. D-guns from OnClick and Regeki are massive. And just like that, with those pawns all clumped up together and not spread out, the Maroon Commander loses them all. Triggers a counterattack right here as the Grunts charge forward with their commands from their Powder Blue Commander, Ray Jackson. I almost want to say Ragicon. It reminds me of Rubicon. Anyways, yeah, the blue team definitely with an advantage now, not having to worry about those assault forces threatening down, for instance, any of the Sheldon should they be overwhelmed. Means that these Sheldon are going to be more than comfortable to start pushing forward. T1 still rolling out on the front lines here for the yellow commander. It looks like the T2 lab is up and running back here. Okay, so we just don't have any production. Maybe we're looking to upgrade that energy economy going into a fusion reactor, or just a whole bunch of advanced solar panels wouldn't be the worst idea either. Looks like a little bit of a tandem play over on that side, trying to keep things nice and running. The pink and brown commanders have both fallen, by the way. The Sheldon's blasting away at those bodies, trying to, well, I'm not sure exactly what those Sheldon are trying to do. They've been set fire on the ground right there. They're maybe trying to blast down that corpse while they can. Not entirely sure. There we go. They are finally remedied, and it looks like they will now start picking apart some of these other commanders. Meanwhile, a commander on the southern side goes down. Oh, it was the green commander. Appeared to be going for a D-gun here on this pop-up Persecutor plasma artillery cannon that's up on the high ground and, man, causing a lot of havoc. Firing away at any of these units that it can. The rocket bot's now firing away at it as well. But as soon as it turns its long-range heavy schnozzle towards them, they are certainly going to be forfeit. Persecutor cannons are no joke. They have tremendous range, huge firepower. Very, very dangerous indeed, with heavy lasers for support here as well. The Warden from Adonis and the Warden up on the northern side here defending as well. Anything that should come towards the center there is going to be in a lot of trouble. The match is heating up, certainly. Are the air players building anything in the backline, by the way? It doesn't look like it. Yeah, for the most part, worried about teching up to T2, not quite into T2 production themselves. Medium tanks finding a little bit more value on this northern side. The Sheldon trying their very best to blast them down. Sheldon do surprisingly large damage. I believe it's about, yeah, 5% per blast for a Sheldon against a medium tank. It might be more, closer to 6 maybe, 6 or 7. T2 Lab set up on the front line, denied entirely by this Persecutor. Means that this Persecutor has well gotten its value. 2,500 metal for a Persecutor, 2,900 metal for an advanced bot lab. Means, yeah, certainly in this particular situation, this long-range plasma cannon has well found its value here. Going to be retargeted onto the lightning turret over here, firing away and slowly whittling it down to 66% and continuing to blast away at it. Ever so slightly, 4% remaining. But now that it's tucked away in its little protected shell mode, it's going to be quite a bit more difficult to kill. One hero grunt. One hero grunt hoping to save the day. There's an LLT here to deny this, though, so this grunt's not really going to be able to find all too much value, I'm afraid. Advanced geothermal is up and running, and my goodness, we are already well into T3. We've only got a fusion reactor up and running, but we've also got some solar panels. Wow, we've actually got quite a lot of advanced solar panels up and running now for the blue commander. That's a 6 solar panels with another 6 on the back there. I count 12 advanced solar panels. Going to be churning out 900 energy per second is quite nice. And then, of course, on the back of all those T2 metal extractors and 100, 100 metal a second. Definitely going to be enough to start producing some of these T3 units. All right. Yeah, whole-handedly expected Shiva here, but we're going to be going straight to demons. Okay, well, the Prince of the Cortex faction, the Demon Double Heavy Flamethrower, is devastating on the front line should it manage to connect with those massive high heavy heat ray blasts. Tons of metal being handed over here, by the way. Look at that. The blue team showing us some dedicated teamwork right there. Everybody realizing, hey, we've got T3 production up and running on the northern side. Let's just go ahead and dump all of our resources into it to try and make sure that we can get those very high quality units out to the field first and foremost. It means we're banking it all on this northern side, so if we get shut down by, for instance, a massive swell of grunts headed over in that direction, it could be the end of the world. But if the red team manages to hold on to this attack, yeah, it could certainly backfire. Let's see how well the defense is mounted, as one demon has already headed out to the field and another is soon to follow it up, headed out there as well. Demons really need to be massed up, which is one of the big problems because they're fairly expensive, but once they're massed up in 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, they can start to burn down even the heaviest of T2 and T3 units relatively quickly. Their dual flamethrowers provide a lot of damage, especially with flanking, and because they are relatively fast, it means that they can get into position to flank pretty quickly here as well. The little commander drawing out the battle plans here, hoping to instill a bit of a push right now from his teammates, apparently. Scouting plane does detect that there are T3 out on the battlefield. Ah, there we go. The transition to Shiva after 2 demons have been produced. Not bad. The nice thing about the demons is how quick they are, so you can get them into position really quickly, but obviously at 6,000 metal a pop, they definitely are quite a cost, yeah. Finding 6,000 metal worth of value is definitely difficult. Hound's here to hold the front line on the southern side, but I think I want to watch up here on the north. So Sheldon going to be great for blasting away over here, and the demon's going to be excellent fire support, pun well intended. And as soon as those demons hit the front line, things are going to look real bad for those medium tanks and T1 bots. Flamethrower mech, ruining the day of all these other units. Desperately hoping to find some value still. Glitching the AI's commander, the Maroon commander, still holding strong over here as well, by the way, degunning down some friendly forces right there. It was a bunch of friendly medium tanks that Glitching the AI just blasted apart. Definitely overwhelmed. And you can see just how dangerous it is to have one of these commanders that knows so much about the game and knows exactly how to hit those transitions so quickly. Demon's already headed out on the field at the 16-minute mark, 17-minute mark here, and now headed directly into the base of the Hot Pink commander. With no commander to degun down these rushed-out demons, remember, this is 12,000 metal that essentially the entire blue team pulled into putting on this top side. Without a commander to degun down all of this and take it down efficiently, it's a wonderful push. Yep. Demons now burning down the base over here, more than happy to chew through those T2 labs, but they'll do a wonderful job against the wind turbines as well. And now they start headed on down towards that southern side. She has been detected here. No cloak on that commander. My goodness, you can see just how fast they burn. Beautiful push right here from these demons. Look at that beautiful stompa. Love the design of these guys. From their claw feet to make them look all evil and menacing and all-terrain. They kind of have like a... Yeah, I don't know. They've got a very thick build to them, though, don't they? They definitely remind me of gosh, what are they called? They remind me of Tiberium Wars tanks. I forget what they were called. Were they Scorpion tanks? No, not the Scorpion tanks. The Brotherhood of Nod heat ray tanks. I know you know what I'm talking about. Dual jets of flame headed directly into these bases, tearing across the backline, and just like that, I think the blue commander has gone ahead and won this game for his team. Whole bunch of Scorpion turrets built here to try and blast down these demons. Smite them back from whence they came. There we go. Triple barrage of Scorpions, apparently going to be just enough to bring down one of these demons. The other one is relatively high health, though. Yep, Shuriken jumping on top now, and with the amount of Shuriken we've got, eventually going to be paralyzed here, but my goodness. What a rampage. 1, 2, 3 bases completely annihilated, left in the dust. Forced to rebuild from the scraps and ruin before those demons finally go down. A nice response from the Orch commander, if anything, a little bit slow. but obviously has to build up the amount of shurikens that you need in order to actually go for that push. If you go in too early and you go in with too few shuriken, then they will just be shot down by the anti-air available, and it sort of ruins the effect of the entire thing. Just mass fusion reactor scaling here. I like it. Yeah, the blue commander knows that the economy isn't necessarily big enough for advanced fusion reactor scaling, so just stepping up ever so slightly with regular fusion reactors. You can throw these up quite a bit quicker. Only 4,000 metal apiece as opposed to the 9,000 for a regular advanced fusion reactor. Southern side has been ravaged. A little bit of a counterattack over here as a whole bunch of those pawns grunts rather, did manage to push forward and kill the base on the southern side. Not the end of the world, though, because one base for 3 bases is definitely a trade that I'm sure the blue team is more than happy to take. Karganath are slowly but surely rolling their way out onto the field right now, and I think it's the right answer. Yeah, if your opponent is just going to be going for some of that T1 spam, then getting a bunch of those Karganath out to blast them down with their heat-seeking missiles is definitely going to be quite valuable. Loads of grunts that have been produced slowly over time right here from the lone T1 lab. Well, actually, it's got a buddy now. 2 T2 labs. T1 labs, pardon me, pumping out a bunch of grunts and sending them forward. Going to be trying to send forces towards the red side of the base. Resbots in every direction trying to resurrect all this stuff over here, but they are getting caught by a bunch of the grunts over here. It's a little bit unfortunate. Karganaths now show their face, though, and their twin rocket launcher cannons, and there they go, blasting down a heavy laser tower without a second thought. Persecutor cannon also firing away, doing quite a smidge of damage. Not really able to completely destroy all these, but certainly thwarting their efforts ever so slightly. Banisher tanks firing away at the heavy welders here, trying to make sure that those heavy warbots do get repelled by the static defense line over here. Not bad at all. Banisher missiles, very dangerous. Effectively the Starlight of the Cortex faction. Big old fighter patrol. Trying to stay together on this northern side. They're hovering over the base over here, trying to let as much anti-air take care of these fighters as possible. Don't really want to engage. We want to reserve as many of these fighters for the imminent bombing run that will be taking place. Or should be taking place, I should say. No such bombing run exists right now, actually, for the blue commander, so these fighters are just held in reserve, essentially for no purpose. At the very least, what it does say is that there's less air coverage than there actually is, maybe tricking the Cyan commander into being a little more confident than they potentially should be. Mammoth on the front here. Gonna be nice for holding back some of this T1 wave, but that is a lot of grunts headed out on the field. Certainly those Karganath have to be a little bit wary about that, but with Fiends burning their way across the northern side here as well, only a matter of time before more and more of those T3 do hit the field. We have more Demon production coming up and running. I think Demons are where it's at. Of course, they're fast enough to hit different sides of the map, and with, well, enough ABM, you can get them into the enemy backline before they even notice exactly what happened over here. Resbots in mass as well to try and pick up as much of this as possible. You can see bases being resurrected and handed over and re-handed over and all sorts of different stuff all over the place here. And Goliath, the orange commander, going into an APHIS right now, halting production of the air forces in order to go ahead and go for some of those good old-fashioned energy productors. This APHIS just barely coming online, my goodness. Red commander's been working on that APHIS for about as long as I think the match has been going on itself. One of the demons resurrected it quite like that, yeah. Use it against the opponent if, well, you can. The the Scorpions took down the demons over there. It looks like one of them was reclaimed, but the other one resurrected here for the defense. One of the other options you have, of course, when your opponent rushes out some of that T3 is to go ahead and resurrect it and bring it back and put it on the field and maybe find some value for it. Still, though, the demon does go down. They're relatively thin in the armor plating, and so it means that these Karganath are going to be able to push well into the base of the frontline commander douchebag here, as well as the yellow commander slightly further back behind them. And just like that, the fusion reactors, the constructors, all the rest of it are in a lot of trouble here. What beautiful plays from the blue commander, showcasing just how high the skill ceiling really goes in this game. This is Karganath now peeling apart that APHIS one rocket at a time and shutting down once more another team's base. 130-ish%, 140-ish% advantage right now for the blue team means that every second that goes by, they're nearly doubling or over doubling the amount of metal that the red team is producing. He got boosted, I'm sure, says Chad. It's the sensible thing to do with such an OS difference. What they mean by that is essentially handing all that metal over, which is exactly what they did. You can see handing all that metal over to produce all these T3 units so quickly, essentially exactly the strategy that they went for. It's impressive that we read that, of course, because you never actually know the strategy unless you go back and watch a replay like this, but that's exactly what happened. And it is interesting because it means that maybe going forward, recognizing some of the OS differences like this, you see a player that's this high skill, maybe it means that you dedicate a lot more forces towards countering them, or maybe you dedicate all of your money towards your top level player and hope that they can play against them. A lot of play and counterplay like that. It's one of those things that's still developing in VAR. Still a year later after starting doing these casts, or more than a year later, really. I think almost 2.5 years later. Anyways, something like that. Yeah, it's still learning about developing metas all the time, which is pretty impressive to say. A couple of the last commanders standing here. One of them goes down. And I think the red team is slowly coming to terms with the fact that the blue team has well overwhelmed them with the application of force across a wide variety of faces, meaning only one outcome is certain. Total dominance by the blue team here. Raigeki carrying his team to victory here with the beautiful T3 play. We're going into T2 air production now as well. We've just gone into fusion reactors, which is also awesome to see. Going for those T2 metal extractors, going into fusion reactors, going into those T2, making efficient trades and making efficient decisions here to make sure that every single time that a unit is lost, the metal is either reclaimed or at the very least the T3 unit is ready to follow it up and secure the kill. There goes the demon. Demon number, I'm not sure, but headed directly towards this base. There's those scorpion turrets with several demon kills under their belts as well. E-converters pop, though, meaning that large swaths of the metal production here for the Maroon Commander fall as well. And with no T3 to defend themselves, the demons are more than happy to burn down everything they can see. Fusion reactors pop. Scorpion turrets trying their very best. Demons are fairly flimsy, but not flimsy enough that scorpion turrets can really deal with them. You need bulwarks. Boom go the fusion reactors. Now only the brown commander remains. We'll go ahead and speed up the rest of these matches. There's hardly any purpose left in watching it unfold. The slow and dramatic death spiral of the red team. And there we go. Finally, they decide to throw in the towel here as the blue team claims victory in this game today. What a wonderful push, showcasing definitely how powerful dumping a bunch of resources into somebody who knows how to spend them can be. Maybe opening eyes for how you should go about playing some of your own games. Certainly I'll be trying this when I have some high-level players on my team that maybe are in desperate need of a 3,000 or 4,000 metal donation. Wow, look at that graph. Excellent carrying right there from Raigeki. Indeed, earning the golden cow in about as spectacular fashion as possible. Thanks a ton for watching, folks, and I'll see you in the very next cast of Beyond All Reason.